Imagine the psychological toll of watching the confetti fall for a team you turned down just months prior. You're 37 years old, you're staring down the twilight of your physical prime, and you realize you made the biggest strategic mistake of your professional life. That kind of regret doesn't just fade away quietly, it ferments into pure, unadulterated obsession. And that obsession just manifested itself in a single, earth-shattering social media post. Dallas, let's make this one special. When Von Miller hit send on that battle cry, accompanied by an image of himself donning the iconic silver and blue star of the Dallas Cowboys, it sent immediate shockwaves through the entire league. This isn't just a late summer transaction. This is a collision of sheer desperation from a reeling franchise and the historical legacy of a man who refuses to fade into the background. It's the exact kind of high-stakes gamble that completely rewrites the unseen margins of championship contention long before the first kickoff in September. We are diving deep into a fundamental shift in the balance of power today. Let's get right into the explainer.
Look, the 2026 NFC East is essentially a pressure cooker right now, and it's defined by two completely contrasting realities of August in the National Football League. In one facility, you have the Dallas Cowboys. This is a proud, highly scrutinized franchise, still nursing the wounds of a disastrous 7-9-1 campaign in 2025. They are in absolute panic mode, swinging for the fences and utilizing aggressive veteran acquisitions to salvage a defense that completely lost its identity. But then you travel just up the coast to their bitter, historic rivals, the Washington Commanders. They are facing the grim, brutal reality of training camp attrition. A sudden, unrelenting wave of injuries is completely shredding their offensive blueprint just weeks before the games actually count. We're looking at two entirely different paths to roster building right now, one dictated by choice and legacy, the other dictated by the medical tent. And the consequences of these intersecting paths, they're going to echo from week 1 all the way into January.
To truly understand the gravity of these late summer developments, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with Von Miller joining Dallas, then look at how the Dallas defense is being completely rebuilt. After that, we'll shift to the Washington backfield injuries, and finally, the massive opportunities suddenly opening up in Washington.
Okay, Section 1. Let's dive right into Von Miller's move to Dallas.
On the surface, a one-year flyer on a 37-year-old edge rusher might just seem like a minor depth move to the casual fan. But you have to look at this in the context of Jerry World and in the context of Miller's relentless, almost maniacal pursuit of greatness. This is a highly strategic deployment of a specialized weapon. It's a marriage of convenience between a player who absolutely refuses to go quietly and a franchise desperate for a locker room alpha. And if you look at the screen, it perfectly illustrates the sheer geographic and strategic journey Miller has taken over the last 3 seasons. From the freezing cold of the Buffalo Bills in 2024, down to the Washington Commanders in 2025, and now arriving in Dallas for 2026. Notice the trend? He is deliberately staying right here in the NFC East. Think about the intel he possesses. He just spent an entire calendar year studying the blocking schemes of the Philadelphia Eagles, the New York Giants, and yes, the Dallas Cowboys themselves. He intimately knows the tendencies, the tells, and the breaking points of the offensive tackles in this division. Dallas isn't just buying a pass rusher, they are literally buying a human intelligence asset who just spent a year deep inside the locker room of their rival. But the sheer, undeniable weight of history in this story is attached to one specific number, 138.5. That is Von Miller's career sack total heading into this season. Now, to put that into perspective, that number currently places him 9th on the all-time NFL sack list. Let that sink in. 9th all-time in the entire history of the sport. He's not just playing for another paycheck at this stage of his life. He sits exactly 3.5 sacks away from vaulting past absolute legends to take solo 6th place. Every single time he lines up on 3rd down this season, he isn't just playing the man across from him. He is hunting ghosts. He is chasing the pantheon of the game. And I'll tell you right now, for a 24-year-old offensive tackle, there is absolutely nothing more terrifying than a man who is intimately aware of his own mortality in the sport, looking to violently cement his legacy in Canton. He doesn't have time to waste on rebuilding years. He is in Dallas to hunt quarterbacks and make history, period.
Of course, the immediate pushback from the critics is going to be his age, right? People will loudly ask, what does a 37-year-old really have left in the tank to compete in today's NFL? Well, the answer lies in his 2025 efficiency data in Washington. Look at these numbers. He played a full 17-game slate. He didn't miss a single week due to wear and tear. But the absolutely crucial metric here isn't the games played, it's that final column, the snap percentage. He was on the field for exactly 37% of Washington's defensive snaps. He was deployed strictly as a situational assassin. He wasn't asked to set the edge on 1st and 10 against a pounding running game. He was kept on ice and unleashed on 3rd and long. And in that highly limited, hyper-specialized role, he still produced a team-leading 9 sacks and 15 quarterback hits. When you extrapolate that efficiency, it is staggering. He doesn't need to play 60 snaps a game to ruin an offensive coordinator's Sunday. He literally just needs 20 snaps of pure unadulterated pass rushing technique to completely flip the outcome of a game.
But to truly understand the fire burning inside Von Miller right now, you have to understand the profound heartbreak of his 2025 offseason. It is a true sliding doors moment in recent NFL history. Last year, Miller had two primary suitors in free agency, the Commanders and the Seattle Seahawks. Believing Washington was primed for a deep, sustained title run under their new regime, he chose the nation's capital. And what happened? The Commanders skidded to a miserable 5-12 record, completely plagued by injuries and staggering inconsistency. Meanwhile, the Seattle Seahawks, the exact team he rejected at the altar, went on a magical run and won Super Bowl 60. Miller recently went on the record with astonishing candor and bluntly admitted, "I picked the wrong team." I mean, wow. Imagine the psychological toll of watching the Lombardi Trophy hoisted into the confetti by the franchise you said no to just months prior. That is a massive, jagged chip on his shoulder. He is coming to Dallas with a vengeance, looking to correct the greatest strategic mistake of his entire life.
Moving on to Section 2, let's look at the defensive crisis that actually prompted Dallas to make this aggressive move.
You don't sign a 37-year-old mercenary in mid-August unless your foundation has fundamentally cracked. And the Cowboys are dealing with absolute roster upheaval. Let's start with the massive elephant in the room. They traded away generational edge rusher Micah Parsons prior to the 2025 season. That single move sent absolute shockwaves through the building, and the fallout was incredibly severe. Without Parsons dictating the terms of engagement, the Dallas defense plummeted. They became one of the most vulnerable units in the league, which directly dragged the team down to that 7-9-1 finish. Then free agency hit and the bleeding continued. They lost critical veteran stability. Jadeveon Clowney, who actually led the team with 8.5 sacks, and Dante Fowler both departed. Clowney was allowed to walk simply because he didn't fit new defensive coordinator Christian Parker's scheme. So, to stop the bleeding, Dallas went hyper-aggressive. They executed a blockbuster trade with Green Bay to bring in Rashawn Gary, they acquired Kenny Clark in the Parsons fallout, and they drafted Malachi Lawrence and Caleb Downs. The sheer volume of new faces, new communication styles, and new responsibilities in this locker room is staggering. They desperately needed a veteran voice who knows exactly what it takes to win a Super Bowl, to come in and anchor this highly volatile mix of acquired talent.
We also cannot ignore the man actually writing the checks here. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones explicitly stated in late July that he was actively hunting for a splash player to finalize this roster. Now, let's be real. Is a 37-year-old Von Miller the exact same type of physical splash as a prime 25-year-old free agent? Physically, no. But psychologically, absolutely. A splash player fundamentally alters the geometry of the field and the overarching mentality of the locker room. When opposing offenses break the huddle this September, think about what they have to account for. They have Rashawn Gary coming off one edge, Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark aggressively pushing the interior pocket, and the ghost of Von Miller waiting patiently on third down. It is a terrifying combination of youth, power, and historic pedigree. It commands double teams and forces quick, panicked decisions from opposing quarterbacks.
All right, Section 3. Let's pivot to the Washington backfield injuries. This is a totally different kind of crisis.
While Dallas is out buying veteran stability, Washington is literally watching their offensive stability crumble directly on the practice field. The physical toll of the preseason is an unrelenting nightmare, and head coach Dan Quinn just stepped to the podium with the kind of news that keeps offensive coordinators awake in cold sweats. Trusted veteran running back Jeremy McNichols is out for multiple weeks with a severe quadriceps injury. He had already missed joint practices and the preseason opener against the Miami Dolphins, but this newly confirmed timeline means he is completely missing the most critical tactical installation phases of the late summer. Now, to the casual fan, a backup running back getting hurt might not sound catastrophic, but in a complex NFL offense, a trusted veteran like McNichols is the ultimate safety valve. He is the guy who knows exactly which linebacker to pick up in a zero blitz. He is the guy who reliably catches the ball out of the backfield on 3rd and long when the pocket instantly collapses. Losing him strips away a massive structural layer of their depth chart just as the intensity ramps up.
And the terrifying thing for Washington is that these injuries are compounding into a genuine crisis, creating a domino effect that threatens the entire operation. Look at this visual. On the left, you have the injured veterans, McNichols in the backfield, and crucially, veteran quarterback Marcus Mariota, who suffered a sprained MCL and is out for the rest of the preseason. When your veteran backup quarterback goes down, the entire offensive ecosystem becomes remarkably fragile. With Mariota suddenly sidelined, developmental quarterback Sam Hartman is thrust directly into the spotlight to run the offense. And who does Hartman have standing behind him in the backfield to call out protections and pick up blitzing linebackers? Not the veteran McNichols. The pressure now falls directly on the right side of this screen, the youth, rookies Robert Henry Jr. and Katron Allen.
You literally have a rookie backfield trying to protect an inexperienced quarterback who is just thrust up the depth chart. It is a terrifying recipe for preseason anxiety, miscommunications, and violently broken plays.
Which brings us to Section 4, the opportunities in Washington, the next man up mentality.
In the brutal, totally unforgiving business of the NFL, one man's devastating setback is another man's golden ticket. The players surviving on the roster bubble don't have the luxury of mourning the loss of their teammates. They have to strap on their helmets and instantly prove they belong on a 53-man roster. To solve this sudden backfield problem, the Commanders' front office and coaching staff are attacking the issue with a highly urgent two-pronged approach. Step 1. Trial by literal fire. They are dramatically increasing the preseason snaps for rookies Robert Henry Jr. and Kaytron Allen. Now, both of these young backs actually flashed serious athletic potential against the Miami Dolphins, but doing it in the fourth quarter of a meaningless preseason game against vanilla coverages is vastly different than executing complex pass protection schemes against starting NFL linebackers. Step 2 reveals the underlying front office panic. They are simultaneously bringing in familiar veterans for emergency workouts, including former Lions back Craig Reynolds. They know they cannot rely entirely on rookies. They need an insurance policy, and they need it signed immediately.
Fortunately, it isn't entirely bad news coming out of the medical tent in Washington. There is a faint glimmer of hope regarding their overall offensive depth. Tight end John Bates is finally returning to full practice after nursing a nagging hamstring injury for multiple weeks. But his return creates an entirely new, highly dramatic subplot for this team. He is stepping back into a tight end room that has evolved into an absolute bloodbath for final roster spots. While he was out rehabilitating, guys like Ben Sinnott, Chig Okonkwo, Colson Yankoff, and Lawrence Cager were eating up all of his valuable reps, fighting tooth and nail for the coaching staff's attention and a highly coveted spot on the 53. Bates returns just in time to try and reclaim his territory in an incredibly crowded, intensely competitive room where every single dropped pass or missed block could literally mean the end of a career. This is the raw, unfiltered reality of cut-down week in the National Football League.
So, to wrap up this explainer, we have to consider the massive, league-wide implications of everything we've just covered. How will the Cowboys' desperate, high-stakes gamble on aging historic greatness, perfectly contrasted with the Commanders' sudden, medically forced reliance on unproven offensive youth, ultimately shape the 2026 NFC East race? When these two historic rivals finally clash on the field, it won't just be a battle of opposing playbooks. It will be a deeply philosophical battle of roster building. Will Von Miller's relentless, almost scary pursuit of his own legacy tear straight through Washington's inexperienced rookie backfield? Or will Washington's young, hungry playmakers expose a patched-together, aging Dallas defense? The answers to those exact questions are going to define this season. If you found this deep dive explainer valuable, make sure you are subscribed to NFL Nexus. Hit that like button right now, jump down into the comments, and let me know your opinion on who truly has the edge in the NFC East. And consider supporting the channel by becoming a member so we can keep bringing you these premium stories. Until next time, keep your eyes on the depth charts.